Bam.
This is AJ Rome, and you're watching the Break It Down Show.
This is what we do. We get people who know how to do things, make things. And AJ is a filmmaker. And we were just talking off mic about the challenges. And it's funny, like the challenges aren't like, what's the perfect shot for Brad Pitt's jaw right now? So
I wish that was the scope of my worries.
Yeah, it's funny because everything comes. Anybody who runs a business in entertainment has to be salesperson of the year, has to be marketer of the year, has to be PR person of the year, HR person of the year. You have to find talent all the time, keep talent happy, like there's a zillion things to do. And so when we see movies made, you and I both know like they're miracles. And the thing I always talk about is like when you watch an award show and the people that like get the award, they're like, I have no idea how this happened. Like it's impossible.
It
Like, when we started
yeah.
this project 15 years ago or whatever, you're just like, oh my God, it's hard to make a movie.
Yeah, I was listening to Sean Baker talk about that. There's this voicemail of his that went viral. I think he was talking to the guy that made The Brutalist, and he was congratulating him because they had shot their films around the same time. And I think The Brutalist he had like finished, and Sean was a year into the rough cut of Honora, just going like, this is I don't know why I made this movie. Like, this is a disaster. You know, like I just feel like a failure. And then he sweeps the Oscars with that same movie. It's so unpredictable. You can't guess what's going to happen. You just have to make the best thing you can.
And no knock on Honora, but if that movie comes out in the wrong year, it probably doesn't do as well because there is a bit of zeitgeist that it's satisfied.
Yeah, no, and that I feel like that's true every year. You know, it's very, very rare. Like I always think back to Hurt Locker winning over Avatar.
Yeah.
You know, and that was the first year they had 10 Oscar nominees. It was the first year they went from 5 to 10 and they had all 10 slots filled. And Avatar comes out and like breaks the Titanic record by $1 billion, has this new, incredible, earth-shattering technology that nobody's ever seen before. And then this movie about a bomb diffuser, coincidentally, his ex-wife made, ends up winning.
Yeah.
It's just like crazy. Like you can't predict stuff like that.
Yeah. Not only was the movie's timing right, and so I'm a combat veteran. I know Iraq, man. Especially back then, and I knew dudes like the protagonist. So I knew him, but also Catherine Bigelow had stepped up to a level where she was Oscar grade herself. You know, like when she did Point Break, that was a fun movie. You know, and it was like, yeah, that's fun, but that you don't win an Oscar for that.
Right.
But she kept doing these movies that just got better and better, and you could see her coming like a freight train. And then this movie lands, and it's like, man, she got so much right about it. There's a lot of things she didn't get right because of the story, and you got to tell the story that makes sense. But the heat, especially, she got the heat right. It was so damn hot in that movie, and I'm like, yes, that's what it feels like. You know,
you feel it, yeah.
Yeah.
You're sweating watching the movie. God, I know. And then Zero Dark 30, and it was like, all right, Catherine Bigelow, forced to be reckoned with. I mean, I'm not worthy. Yeah. She's incredible.
Yeah. How many how many directors are that good in Hollywood at any given point in time?
Less than 10, probably.
Right.
I mean, like I've got my favorites that I know I'm going to show up for every time they make something. Mm-hmm. You know, I think of it like when I was 13 and it was like Metallica would release a new album. And there were very few Metallicas that I was like, all right, I know I'm going to like this regardless of like what they made. I'm going to like it. And there are very, very few directors that do that. And of course, taste is taste. And like, I have my tastes. And there are some like brilliant auteurs that like, it's just not my style. Like Wes Anderson is a genius. I don't love all of his movies. They're just not my taste, but I can still recognize that, like, I'm not going to trash the guy and be like, oh, he's terrible because I don't like his movies. He's incredible director. But yeah, so I mean, maybe 20.
Yeah.
Maybe 20.
I don't want to say, I'm kind of with you on Wes Anderson. I am sometimes tickled by his work, but it's hit or miss. And I had the opportunity to potentially get him on the show. We never quite figured it out. But what I figured out was like, I don't know. I'll be fine talking to him, but I don't want to bug the man. He's already so like private and everything else.
Yeah.
And so it was like, even if I did get him, am I just wasting his time? And I'm like, you know what? I don't want to waste that man's time. You know, and so
it's not a good premise for a conversation when you feel insecure about even talking to him.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, there's people that are notable bad. I'm not saying Wes is a bad interview, but there's people that are notable challenging interviews. So I like when there was a chance that maybe I could at least pitch Morrissey, and I'm like, you know what, I still want to do it. Like
Yeah.
he doesn't want to do it. I mean, that's the way he acts. And so if someone gets a great interview with him, that's great. But I'm just not gonna. It's not a risk. I just don't want to waste my effort going after something that has a high likelihood of blowing up in my face or just not being good. And I don't want to represent him terribly. So there's a lot of things that go into my calculus for who I get. I said no to Danny Trejo one time because the people, this is like several years ago, but the PR people are like, well, you could have him for 8 minutes. And I'm like, no, it's a podcast. So it's
Yeah.
not a
Yeah.
radio spot, and they're like, oh, well, if you can do 8 minutes, I'm like, no, thanks. So
Yeah.
I don't
No, it's
know.
not worth it.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying is well, we're talking about directors, and so I like Wes Anderson, and I struggle with Wes Anderson, but that to me is where the edge of my art capacity kind of is at, and so it's on me to try to sort out what he does. I don't like slice of life type things, that are just like, okay, she's mopping the stairs, it's great,
Right.
I can't, I cannot get into those movies,
It
and
has
I
to
mean, yeah,
move
yeah,
for
it
you a
has to
little bit.
move a little bit,
So,
right?
like,
I
what's
don't.
your favorite movie? Just that one
Well,
that, like,
the first one that pops in my head is Tombstone.
okay. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't have to all be like that, but it's masculine, it's Western, it's got all those things that dudes like. So that's
Yeah.
that's pretty easy. If Smoking the Bandit comes on, I'll watch that because I love that movie. I'd love to make a prequel of that,
Oh,
and like
nice.
not I'm just gonna say the word, not pussify it. Like let it be Southern of that time and just let it be a little bit body and everything else that it's supposed to be. When I saw the
Of
new
the
one,
era.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, in 20 years ago, whatever, and I'm like, well, I went and saw it and it was fine, but um,
There was a new one?
well, I'm saying new. It's 20 years ago. Yeah, it
That
was
still
Johnny
is new. Who was
Knoxville
that?
and
Oh,
and
there's a
and what's
Johnny Knoxville, Smokey and the Bandit?
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
not
wow, I
Smoking
missed
Bandit. No,
that.
no, no. I'm sorry. Dukes of Hazzard. Sorry, Dukes of
Oh,
Hazzard.
Dukes of Hazzard. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. There was not a new Smoking the Bandit. Sorry.
Gotcha. Louisiana. Yeah, I've got a couple friends that were
Yeah,
in that, yeah, Dukes of Hazzard movie.
and it was just disappointing because it's like any of these movies. Fall Guy, right? I loved Fall Guy. Did you love Fall Guy growing up? I loved Fall Guy.
Loved. Yeah.
You know, they got it so wrong, and I don't know.
Oh, I'm saying I loved the movie. I didn't even see the show.
Oh, I
I think
love
that
the
was,
show.
I think I was in the wrong generation for the show because I didn't even
Oh, okay.
realize there really was one. But like the movie, man, I
It
was like,
was.
this has all, see, and this is the difference. This is what we're talking
Okay.
about is like, it's
Yeah.
a matter of taste. Cause like,
Yeah.
I see that and I go, this has all the makings of a classic movie.
Hmm.
Like something that people are gonna you can find 15 years from now and you're gonna come back and go like, there's so much to love about this movie.
Yeah.
And to me, I go back and forth because like I want to do the really high level auteur stuff. Like Soderbergh's like amazing because he just does
Sure.
whatever he wants. He can go knock out a $200 million film, or he can like shoot a film with a camera in a house by himself. And
Yeah.
they're both going to be amazing films. And it's like on some level, I want to do those like popcorn, Spielberg-y, fill the
Yeah.
theater, like create the audience experience, like viewing experience together thing. But then there's so much of me that like loves that deep character study, slice of life, like just get down and really into one character for 2 hours kind of thing. I don't know. I go back and forth. So it's been a difficult journey for me because you sink years into every film you make.
Right.
And some of them never even get made and you sink years in. So you really have to be kind of choosy over what kind of projects you take on. And so, I get pitched. I've got a company where I help filmmakers make films, and I get pitched all the time. And then I just have to tell people, like, if you have any, like, once you do this once and you figure out how much effort, time and energy and love and passion you have to put into something, sleepless nights, unpaid years of work,
Oh
you'll
my gosh.
never take on a project that you don't care about.
Yeah.
And I just can't do that anymore.
Yeah. It is. Man, I've got a slate of movies that I'm like, okay, because if someone asks me, I'm like, yeah, I have one for that. So I've kind of built out like a little thing, and they're all in various states of development, which means most of them will never get made. But
Yeah.
uh,
Don't tell the filmmakers. Don't tell
exactly.
the writers.
Yeah, but but it's reality is like I need to have enough projects so that I can always work on something, and this is at my level, and I'm just like such a a lay person who's doing this, but I've got guidance from friends who make things, and they're like, no, it's fine to have 10 projects. You're not going to work on every budget and everything else, but yeah, continue to advance the ball. And
Yep.
so I do, right? And but I'm also realistic. And then also, if someone's like, "Hey, Pete, we want you to come over here and make some money while we help us make this movie," because there's a scenario when that happens. All of a sudden, my A project becomes my B project, and
Yep.
and the effort stops on it because you got to get paid. And I'm not
Yeah.
going to say no if they come and they say, "Pete, will you help us with this?" And there's several projects where if things come together, my A project will become my C project because there's several that are like, we're just waiting on budget money. We think this is going to happen, and you know how this goes. And the
You
money,
have to. You
yeah,
shuffle things around, but I think the thing is, like, sometimes the connection you need to make that A project happen
hmm
is by making it the C project and bringing that new project into the forefront, so you can you can build that relationship with the person that can come back and make that other one work.
yeah,
So I think it's hard. It's definitely hard to prioritize because you don't know what
right,
the outcome is going to be on any of them. You just
yeah.
have to kind of double down on which ones you think are important and give them as much time as you can. And yeah, it's tough for sure.
I struggle with the desire to write screenplays and the fact that I never sit down and put fingers on keys.
You and
I
every
feel
other writer.
okay, good.
It's the most common thing I hear is like, I just got to write it. It's all up here.
Yeah,
I just got to get it on the page.
yeah,
It's like everybody. Yeah, half of my
yeah.
Instagram feed is like just writing techniques and writing like sit down at the keyboard for 2 hours even if you don't type anything, like just build the habit, cuz yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's everybody. I think that's
I'm not
everybody.
sure I'm a screenwriter though. Even though I know a lot about it and read it, have a lot of screenwriter friends and they all encourage me. Of course they encourage, that's their favorite thing. I'm not sure I'm a screenwriter. I don't think that I'm necessarily supposed to be. Now, this is me describing what kind of producer I am, and I've produced bullshit so far. So, I'm developing a lot of things, and that makes me a producer. But maybe I'm not supposed to be a screenwriter, or maybe I just need to write a hacky one that sucks that then someone else fixes, and then of course I mean, I don't know when you ever get to the final draft phase of a screenplay because,
When
it's
you shoot,
always, yeah,
when you shoot,
exactly.
that's it.
As
That's
you
your
shoot,
final
right? Yeah.
draft. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but I think you're dictating your fate right there. Like you are what you
hmm
say you are, right?
Yeah.
And I know Robert
Yeah.
Rodriguez is, he's going around doing a lot of interviews right now for Brass Knuckle Films, his like film
hmm
slate, crowd equity thing.
Right.
And he tells the story of like he wasn't an athlete, and he was getting fat, he was getting overweight and just hated working out. And then he basically had to just like come to the determination that he had to call himself an athlete. And like, what does an athlete do? An athlete wakes up and they work out and they enjoy eating well, and they take care of their bodies. And I think that is the mindset that you have to imbue, is just like tell yourself you are the thing you want to be until it's true.
Mm. Yeah.
So if you want to be, I think when you say things like I don't know if I'm supposed to be,
Yeah.
you're separating yourself into this duality of you and other you,
Yeah.
instead of like just assuming one person and then making a choice, because I think if you wanted to be, you could.
Yeah.
I think
Oh
it
no, I,
sounds to
I
me more
think you're
like
right.
you're not sure if you want to be,
Well,
which makes
and I
sense.
and I think what I am, look, so I was a spy, right? And a spy, here's what a spy does. In my case, how I spied. I build networks. And that's sort of my strength in producing. It's like, oh, I know that person, or I know a person, or I could probably get that meeting, or whatever it is. And I've noticed that not all, but a lot of my screenwriter friends are like, yeah, that's not my thing. Trying to call somebody or try to
Yeah.
build a bridge to somebody who may have money. I have no problem asking people for money. I've talked to warlords, and so I'm like, yeah, of course you have money. Of course you'd want to invest in this. I just start with the assumption that they will, and knowing that it's hard to get a check out of anybody. But I noticed that a lot of my screenwriting friends are not as confident as that, and they don't want to. They'd rather write than do that. Now they do both, correct? That's what filmmakers have to do. But it appears to me that today, where my strengths are is in the other, like the team building side, as opposed to the sitting down and screenwriting side.
And that's a true producer.
Mhm.
The network building, like that's a true producer.
Yeah.
I think most of us learn how to do the jobs we didn't want to do out of necessity because you couldn't find somebody to do them, or things would just never happen if you did. Like I remember
Yeah.
I was getting into the industry and I knew I wanted to be, I was like an actor first.
Mhm.
And then I also know that if I'm not going to be able to act, I want to write. And if I can't write, then I'll direct. And if I can't direct, then I'll produce. And then now here I am 20 years in. As of 6 days ago is my 20-year anniversary moving to LA.
Congrats.
I was 20 years old.
Yeah.
And now I do all of it, and I love all of it. And I edit, like I'm literally on the second side of my screen right here. I've got my edit up for my most recent film that I did myself, because I never planned on being an editor either. But like, you just have to learn how to do the things that make your career possible, even if it's stuff you don't want to do. But for you, there's plenty of screenwriters out there with movies that want to be made. So I don't think you're lacking. Like, I'm not going to go learn how to compose. That's going to take me way too long. I'll go find a composer every time. Yeah. And there's somebody willing to do that job gladly, that's put their, years and years of work into it. And so I'm happy to work with those people, but everything else I've figured out how to do pretty much on my own at this point.
Yeah. I've come to know Tony Toast. I don't know if you know Tony's work at all, but he was like a junior writer on Longmire. And because he actually came from that world, next thing you know, it's executive producer, Tony Toast. Yeah. And he was right, because he was a trailer park kid living on the edge of a reservation, and he's like, I know this world. And he has a PhD in English, and his best buddy is that guy, Nick Palazzo, not Palazzo, but I'm talking about, a true crime guy. Anyhow, Pizzolatto, that's his name.
Pizzolatto.
Yeah. So those guys like got here, and both of them
True Detective.
True Detective.
True Detective. Yep.
They both had so much talent when they showed up. All of like they have a command of English that is already way ahead, and so they were able to jump in pretty fast. But Tony still had to work his way up at Longmire. But I was asking him, like, now that you're like establishing and you're able to, you get hired to run a season of this or run a season of that. He just did a season of Poker Face, and he's like, here's the hats I'd like to take off. He's got a bunch of them. He's like, I'm tired of wearing these hats, and he still has too many hats on his head, because that's the nature of this business.
Well, and you also I think you become a control freak at some level too, if you're not careful. And I've definitely run into that, where it's like, I'm scared to let other people make decisions, because especially if it's like my art,
right?
Because I don't meet a lot of people that care as much as I do. If I do, I'm like, thank God. I know I can lean on you. I can trust you. And I remember watching this interview from Quentin Tarantino where he's like, I'm not a genius. He's like, I surround myself with geniuses, and then because I'm the director, like, I get to take the credit for it. But I'm waiting to find all of those people that I can just lean on. And I'm probably halfway there, which I love. Right. I love knowing that project to project, everything is going to get stronger and stronger.
Yeah.
Which I think is ultimately what it takes for you to get to a place where you're running shows or whatever. But then I'm sure when you're like Scorsese or, Spielberg or somebody, and you've got assistants, it's specifically for that reason. Like, let me be the creative genius, and then let everybody else manage every other cog and wheel in the machine, so I don't have to worry about that stuff. Because that's the highest leverage ROI you're going to get out of a Spielberg, is like, just let his mind do the creative side.
Right.
Everything else that's bogging it down is like gumming up the gears and slowing down the systems and slowing down the ability to make money off of, in their version of the world, where they've got these giant studios kind of leveraged on their mind. Like, you just have to let them create.
Yeah.
Fill the gaps.
And I bet if we had Steven standing here, he'd be like, let me tell you about my problems,
Oh, I'm like, sure.
Christ,
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, because I think people, we idealize our idols. And then I've heard so many, and I've had my own experiences with this where it's like, don't meet your heroes, and you meet, the people that you're like, oh my God, you changed my life. And they're like, get the fuck out of my face. Can I say fuck on here? And it's like, you just don't know what other people are going through. And when you're, a $4 billion, a billionaire in the movie industry, like, I can't imagine the stresses you've taken on. When you're talking about like Zack Snyder and now James Gunn, like running the Warner Brothers movie slate from top to bottom and making all those decisions. Yeah, it's so nice to be like, they're running, they're making all the superhero movies. Like, they're so lucky. And it's like, oh my God, the stress. You're a publicly traded company. I can't imagine. Imagine.
You find yourself in court for making a movie. And making a pretty good movie, it's like, oh, you got to have your fiduciary responsibilities, and you're just like, oh, Jesus, how did this happen? And by the way, I ask this question a lot of actors, and with all good intention, but if you lock into a serial or a procedural and you're just going to be there for 20 years, Ice-T, right? That's the most comfortable thing in the world, but it is not the most creative thing in the world. And so it's like, oh man, I've built this dream career. I was a rapper on the streets and everything else. And now I have this whole career of doing this thing. And he comes in and he's something like, I don't know, I'll talk to Taco. And then he leaves this, offset. He has like the shortest life. Every now and then, like once a season, he gets his own episode. But, he has to find other ways to exercise that creative muscle because that's not going to happen on that show.
I mean, it's wild that you bring that up because the guy that's in my first movie, Go Crazy, Go Mad, is Octavio Pisano, who was just on for 5 years as Velasco. So he and Ice-T were like, this on the show for the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And Octavio's like one of the deepest artists I know. I mean, like, he's got a YouTube channel right now where he's just sort of documenting his life in like the most cinematic way you can experience, because that creative hunger doesn't go away. So on the one hand, like earning the paycheck is great, but at some point you've got enough money, especially on a serialized show like that, that's, just the residuals alone have got you set up, in Ice-T's case, for life. But you've got 2 months a year to exercise that. 10 months out of the year, you're just shooting the same show over and over and over again. And you can't leave. You can't go work on anything serious.
Right.
So it's finding the balance and taking massive risks. Like I built a little bit of a fan base, built my bank account up a little bit, but now how do I go do the thing that I want to do?
Right.
And like,
I wonder about, because I talk to a lot of authors who write really big things, and then they'll get called up by the Tom Clancy estate and like, hey, can you write for this series? And then they do. And that absorbs most of their creative time. Now, they still may be prolific enough that they can get their own book out, but they are chasing something, and there's a lot of comfort in that. There's a lot of money in it. None of them complain about it. It's a wonderful gig, but I do notice that those guys are like, and that's enough of that. And I'm going to go back now and work my own thing. And I don't know that that's true in the acting world as often as we want it to be. I mean, if you end up on the guiding light and you stay there for 45 years, like there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you're doing something all the time, and what an incredible life. But it is a job more than it is an art, if I'm going to be unfair and say that.
No, you're totally right. And I think there are different, just like there are people that are just like more comfortable pushing a button than like running a company. Mm-hmm. There are button pushers, and there are visionaries. And I think the same can be said probably across all industries. And so if you're Susan Lucci and like you're going to do 7,000 episodes of a TV show for 45 years or whatever, and you're comfortable doing that, then great. And if you have no aspirations in winning an Oscar and like moving on to film, but I think there's like a point where you almost, the industry sort of tells you where you're safe to stay. And I see that a lot in TV, like where a lot of TV actors simply can't do movies because they haven't earned the right. And there's still this huge separation. Movie stars can go do TV all they want and seem to move back and forth, especially on like mini series or like, limited series or whatever. But the same cannot be said for TV stars moving to movies. And if they do, they get these like tiny little bit parts. And you're like, wait, but that's that lead actor in that show they've been doing that for 20 years. And they're in like this little, bellhop, uniform for a couple scenes or something. And you're like, I don't see the disc, but it's like, I don't know if it's a talent thing or an it factor thing, or like there's still some weird separation that I don't fully understand. And I think it's really interesting because I think you have to be really intentional as an artist about what your goals are, so you don't get stuck in those scenarios, or you could recognize them if you start to get stuck. And you want to move out of it. You want to do bigger things. Like, I think that's what Adrian Brody was referring to when he was accepting the Oscar and having gone sort of down the path of like those just ship the random action movie off to foreign countries and we'll make them for $5 million, and like asylum films, just like churn them out. Like he fell down that rabbit hole for a long time. And I think he realized he sort of took his fame and his status after The Pianist for granted. And now he's like, done The Brutalist, come back. He's back with all the, the big A-listers, his peers. He's receiving awards again, going like, I will never do that again.
Right.
And so I feel like we kind of got to watch that happen live, over the course of a decade while it happened. But I don't know. I'm always paying really close attention to stuff like that. Like Josh Hartnett just left for a while and like wanted to go do good in the world, and then was welcomed back with open arms. Like, yes, please. We love you. Come back. But not everybody gets that chance.
Yeah. Boy, you're saying a lot there too, because when you look at movies 20, 30 years later and you realize there's only 3 recognizable names in this thing. I mean, unless you're a real deep movie insider, you can be like, this just these 3 people and the cast.
Yep.
And that is the reality. And so that makes me also think about how many Catherine Bigelows are there? How many jobs are there? It's really a trade within a trade to be a leading person for more than 5 films. Like that is so rare to have something like that happen. And when your job is like, oh no, you're be a cast player. We love you. We're going to have you work for 20 years. That is kind of, that's where you settle in. And as much as you might want to be a lead. And I'm not even talking about the physicality part where like, I don't know. I've been trying to think of someone who just is, a person whose their mere presence is the role. There's a guy from my hometown who's been in a zillion movies with a zillion people, and he looms. So you make him a tough, you make him a cop, whatever it is, and once he shows up, he's just this big presence. And so I'm not saying that he can't act, but his size, his face, whatever it is, makes him that person. And so he's sort of locked into that role. And it's hard for someone like that to even need to do anything else, because you are playing off of Al Pacino or Tom Hanks or whoever it is. Because I'm going to think of his name in a minute here, but he's been in everything. And but he's always that thing. He kind of took over for who was the bad guy in Cliffhanger? Not John Lithgow, the other guy. What's his name? I can't think of his name right now.
I haven't seen Cliffhanger since I was probably 10.
Well, I'll pull this. Powers Booth. That's who it is. Powers Booth, right?
Powers Booth. I'd have to see his face.
Yeah. Well, when Powers Booth passes, like this guy, that's what he does. He just kind of plays that role. He played Johnny Ringo in Tombstone. Powers Booth did. Anyhow, doesn't matter. So there's those kind of people whose physicality makes them relevant in all of these roles. You're 6'5". My buddy Pete Koch, who played the Swede in Heartbreak Ridge, he looks a certain way. He looks like super jacked Santa Claus. He's like almost 65 years old now, but he's in beat shape his whole life,
Yeah.
And so when he shows up, he has to play that role. It's very hard for him to play anything else, because no matter how good of an actor, he's got Pam Anderson. Pam Anderson can be a world-class actress, but she shows up and she's going to be something else on screen.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because most actors at the beginning of their career are so terrified of being typecast. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that would be the best possible scenario for you at the beginning of your career, is that you get like consistently hired to do one thing.
Yeah.
It's just such a crazy premise that like, oh, please don't hire me to play like the bouncer and everything. No, get the work, put it under your belt, build your relationships, build your bank account, build your fan base, and then Matthew McConaughey, go play something crazy and change people's minds later. But like, don't sell yourself short and say like, I don't want to do that thing, because that would be the absolute best case scenario. I mean, like Adam Sandler's typecast, he gladly, like Jim Carrey's typecast.
Right.
They created their own type, and then they just get to play that thing all the time and are like fantastic at it. And hopefully they also enjoy doing what they're doing.
Are producers and all their ilk, are they typecastable?
I'm sure. Yeah. Because I think like, I don't know, the role of a producer is so broad.
Mm-hmm.
Producers are collectors of people, and it's like in Harry Potter, Slughorn, is it Slughorn? Who's like, he collects people. That's what producers do, is, they kind of build relationships, and then they make attachments to projects that, can benefit the project in different ways. So yeah, I would say you could definitely typecast a producer if you want a specific, trade to come in and do one thing really well. Yeah, I would say you could attach a producer and do that.
Yeah. I've noticed that people, if you have a benefactor who will help you make a movie, and you gather that person who helps fund things, people want access to that person. And you're like, hey, why don't we, so-and-so.
So annoying. So annoying.
That's what I wanted to ask about.
The most frustrating thing I think every person in Hollywood does, at the low levels anyway, I'm sure this happens at the higher levels too, but hey, you've got that famous friend or that rich friend. Will they fund my project? It's like, you don't think I'm trying to get them to fund mine? You think I'm just going to hand away and just like, we get very limited shots at this. There's no one person out there just writing blind checks to creative projects like everybody hopes there are. We all have a limited amount of trust with the people that would be willing to part with their money over art. And keeping that trust is absolutely essential to the survival of yourself as an artist. I'm not giving away all of my valuable contacts to everyone I see. And I get approached on Instagram a few times a week with people just like, help me make this, help me make that. And I'm like, I'll walk you through the process of making it yourself gladly, but I'm not giving you my contacts so you can make your thing. I don't even know who you are. And
that's
bring me absolute proof that what you do is important, and then we can talk. But it's just I don't know. I think there's a lot of training and education necessary for people to not just stumble and biff it every time they go approach somebody for money.
That's a good point about the money thing and getting access. We're desperate to rush to things, but I don't think there's a single thing you can do in the movie industry that involves rushing. It just seems like everything is deliberate and fraught with just barriers, and so I'm a person that's like, let's just like I like to move. Oh, back in my youth, I moved a lot of people, so I like to move. I like moving couches, and the number one rule in moving is moving. Like, I don't care if you're ready, but what can go out right now? What can go into the front yard to get it closer to the truck so that it's move? I just move, right? That is not how movies work.
No.
And I've tried to like,
you can try
myself.
Yeah. You can brute force it, and you can push. Like I teach my filmmakers, like, I'm a big ready, fire, aim person, where you gotta put the barrel, you got to aim the barrel somewhere. You got to set a start date, because Parkinson's law, work expands to the time allowed to complete the task. If you never set an end date, you'll use every second of 10 years to try and make something happen. But if you say, I'm going to shoot by next summer, suddenly the steps to get there become very, very clear. Okay, I need to attach talent. I need to find a casting director. I need to find money. I need to get my pitch deck and my business plan in order. I need to lock down locations. I need to lock down actors. Like, things get very clear when you put, time limits on things. And that's ultimately why I've been able to make the things I've made, is because I don't wait forever, because
Mhm.
forever will come and that project will never happen.
Yeah.
So that's definitely, definitely something I'm
That
I'm
is a
big on.
lesson that I'm trying to figure out is, how do I, with no, but because, I'm not in the luxury position of having a budget for anything.
Yeah.
Everything has to earn its money. And so I can ask for favors, but at some point I have to deliver on those favors, and so
Yeah.
it just slows everything down. And, I'm not supposed to put my own money into this project. And so I put my time and a little bit of my money, but not like real money. And yeah, it's hard to put a time frame on things when I have to prove up so much stuff that it just I don't know what the reliable path is. I've got great people in front of me kind of guiding me and everything, but um how do I build a financial base where I can, develop that person's like, Pete, I trust you. Here's $100,000. Go do something with it. And then, whatever. And because I can raise some small money, but I can't raise $10 million. I don't know that person yet. I mean, I know
Yeah.
those people, but I haven't earned the right to ask them for $10 million.
That's what you're talking about. Like okay,
Yeah.
so there's so many really smart things that you said. You said at first, everything needs to make its money.
Right.
And I think this is like the big failure of most artists, is that we just assume that art makes money, but we
Mm,
don't figure out how. And so there's not enough education or not enough time spent learning the business side of show business, where it's like your job as a filmmaker is to uh assemble as much value as
yeah.
possible, so when you take that to the people with money, they can see an active way that they can make that money back. And
Right.
so like that's step one. Step two, where you're talking about raising $10 million and not having the right to go talk to them yet, you earn that right through making other projects.
Right.
If
Yeah.
anybody is out there listening right now hoping to make a $10 million project, but you haven't ever made anything before, go make something. Go make something, because nobody is going to take a bet on you that you're not willing to take on yourself.
Yeah.
So go take your brain, take that creative energy that you've poured into this $10 million project, and go figure out how to make something that you can make right now with what you have access to. You got a cell phone in your hand. Sean Baker won Sundance on a freaking iPhone 5.
Yeah.
Like, you can go make something. Make something right now. The limitations are not the money, it's your creativity. So like use your creative mind to put something together, because ultimately the industry wants to see proof. There's this brilliant case study that I just did the other, one of my filmmakers turned me on to this kid named Cooper Rafe.
Mhm.
He was 19 years old. He made a 52-minute short film, posted it on YouTube, and started tweeting Jay Duplass and said, "I bet you won't click this link. I bet you won't click this link. I bet you won't click this link." And then Jay clicked on it, and he saw what Cooper was doing and went, "This kid made proof. I'm going to take him under my wing. I'm going to help him assemble what he needs to make the feature." Now, Jay didn't give him $1 million and attach his best DPs. He helped him assemble a tiny little crew, $15,000 budget raised from friends and family. It wasn't even like Jay gave him a $15,000 check. And he made this movie called Shithouse. Shithouse won South by in 2020 at $15,000. He's 22 years old, quit college to make his movie. And then his second movie is a $9 million film called Cha Cha Real Smooth that got bought by Apple.
Mhm.
And his next project is an 8-episode TV show that he's the creator, writer, director, and star of, opposite Mark Ruffalo, that just got picked up by Mubi and will be out later this year. This is a 15 or 19-year-old kid. He's 25 now.
Yeah.
And he's got a TV show starring Mark Ruffalo because he proved his artistic voice with nothing. So the powers that be could see what he could do, what he was capable of, and then put money behind that. But without proof, it's not proof of concept, it's proof of voice.
Yeah.
You have to prove your artistic voice to the world before people will take a bet on you.
One of the things I'm working on now, so the A project right now is called Fight to the Finish, and it's about this the first real prize fight that gets nationwide attention and really kind of knocks down the barriers. And it kind of starts, our premise is that it starts all of modern fighting. They're still talking about that fight 80 years after it happened. So like you watch a fight from the 60s, they're like, back when Corbett fought in that bar, like they're still talking about it. And so it was part of the zeitgeist for a long time, at least in the world of boxing. And so, and everybody's like, it's a period piece. I don't care about that. Like, yeah, I know it's a period piece. It's fine. Yes, they're more expensive. We'll work that out. But there are so many products that I have to make because it's kind of like the way I liken it to like a resume. You show someone your resume, like, oh, you use bullet points, and the next person's like, where are your bullet points? It's like just all over the place. Yeah. So I got to make a lookbook. I got to do a character study. I got to do a short documentary. I got to shoot a short feature. Whatever. All these things. And this is part of the muscle that I know I have to build. So I sit down and I work on the lookbook and I try to find the clever words and I'm a production or a perfection guy anyhow. So I'm just like, here it is. It's a draft form. There's 40 slides there. There's 40 images. There's 200 words tops. What do you think? And then I get feedback, and then whatever, I include that into the feedback and everything. But it's just a lot of work just to be able to even talk about something, because everybody wants something different. Oh, give me a one sheet. I'm like, I am the one sheet. I'm the one sheet.
Yeah.
But they need to hold something in their hand so they can talk to me. And it's a weird thing that I can't wrap my head around. But if someone needs a one sheet, I got to be able to pull it out of my portfolio or send it to them via email and say, here you go. Now let's talk. And then they can, for whatever reason, they'll talk then. Even if they cut my one sheet apart, I've had a conversation, which is fine. I don't mind them having critique about it, and hand them the book and all that kind of thing. But it's just, there's so much of that work that I know it has to be done. But it's just like, can't we just pick one thing? Does it have to be 40 little products? But it has to be 40 little products.
Yeah. And this
has to be a little crazy.
This is where I battle too, because I hear this story all the time, and I just wonder how many projects actually get made because of that work,
right?
Versus assembling the team that proves that the work is necessary, or that like the movie will be good. And I know part of assembling the team is having those things that you're talking about, lookbooks and pitch decks and all that stuff. But ultimately, obviously the script, like, okay, if I'm going to go out into the industry with two things, it's going to be a completed script, because that's ultimately like, that's like in marketing, you've got your headline. It's the thing that everybody's going to read and then decide whether they're going to read later. The script is like the meat that they've got to, once they're fully invested in the idea, then they'll go read the script. But before that, they're going to want to know the title, the concept. So if it's, 80-year-old prize fight, great, awesome. I can wrap my mind around that. I understand the title. I understand like the time period. So your mind starts to paint the picture itself.
Yeah.
Then you want the pitch deck. The pitch deck, best practices according to ChatGPT deep research, is like 14 pages.
Right.
And it's very like lean, very economical, like not too wordy. It's more about the imagery, because then it's tangible. Somebody can hold it and they can see it and they can feel it. And that's really the goal. And then from there, they read the script. If you can't make a decision based on those things, like, you don't need more than that. Then you're just asking for other things to stall the process. Just give me a no and I can move on, and that's how I'd prefer it. So it's like, I built a pitch deck generator that you can literally drag your script into. It'll go do all the research. It'll find all the box office comparisons. It'll write all your slides. It'll generate the images. You drag them into Canva and you got your pitch deck in like 2 hours.
Dang.
Brilliant. And you're not scraping the internet trying to find, steal images from other people's movies to try and piecemeal it together and make it look like your movie. It's like every image that comes out of it just looks like your movie.
Yeah.
And so that's what I started using, because I'm just like, well, we're in the age of technology. People want to be able to see and hold something that represents your film. And so if I can just create that thing in a couple of hours and then go with the script, then, I got what I got. But like, I turned so many people off the idea of spending money on a proof of concept.
Yeah.
I have so many people. I'm like, I've spent $25,000.
Yeah.
Spent $80,000 on a 25-minute proof of concept. Why didn't you just go shoot the movie? Just go shoot the movie. You had 80 grand. Go shoot the movie. What do you do? You know what I mean? And so that's like, I think people, because the story is you need all of these things, and these are all the expectations that people have before they'll consider a project. Because that's the story, everybody runs down those paths. But like, I built a course out recently. I'm running ads to it right now. It's called the Investorless Feature Film course, because all of the like major players in the industry, like the household name writers and directors that all started their film careers on these micro budget films. Whether you're talking about Darren Aronofsky or Christopher Nolan or Greta Gerwig or the Duplass brothers or the Daniels or whatever, like they all started with these tiny little projects that just proved their voice. And then, provided you've got any sort of little successes here and there, you take those successes, whether they're, festival laurels or good reviews that you got, or even a YouTube view count these days. And you can take those as proof to, like, there's this kid, I just saw this, this article got sent to me this week. This kid made an $800 feature film, horror film, that's gotten 2 million views on YouTube. And he's debuting his second feature at TIFF right now. And it's like, that's the model. The model is like, figure out, and I know that's maybe based on the beginning of our conversation where you're talking about whether you want to be a screenwriter or not. I know that might be harder when you don't feel like the creative voice, but you're trying to back the creative voice rather than back a project because the project is interesting. Like, I'm always looking for the filmmaker that has the it factor. And that's what that Cooper Raiff kid has. Like, he has it in spades. From the first second you start watching any of his stuff, you're like, I'm invested because of one kid, not because of the idea or the premise or the story, but that kid is just so interesting and so talented. So if you can go out and find somebody like that, that's underrepresented, that doesn't have money, that doesn't have resources or education or the skill set yet to make it happen, and you can piggyback off of somebody else. Like, I think that's also the job of a producer. And I think that's the story of Ron Howard and what's his name? His like co-producer that he does everything with.
Well, either way, Ron Howard and his co-producing buddy. I can't think of his name right now.
Spiky hair, like ultra famous producer. And he went on, I think he went on the Tim Ferriss show and talked about this, but that was his thing. He's like, I'm not the creator, but I can help back somebody. I can help like reinforce the creator's ability to do their job well and build a career that way. That would be like, what I would recommend for sure.
I mean, when I put my producer hat on, I have this wonderful show and I get to talk to you and I get to talk to, anybody else. And it really does open my producing network up. But also when these authors write these incredible books, I don't want to cut them a check and have them disappear. And then we do whatever we want with their book. I want them to own this thing because they work so hard on it, and maybe that's altruistic, but I'm just going to keep with that premise of this is an incredible book. And a lot of these guys have been on the tour. And I'm like, you're going to go on the circus and everything, and you're going to feel good, and nothing happens. Let's just you and I get to work like we own this thing, and see if it can survive, to becoming a movie. And at some point, like, it has to have its legs, and it has to earn some money, and it has to. But I'd rather do that and have this creative person behind me, or that I'm behind them, really more accurately, and make things. Maybe that's crazy. That I don't know. What do you think? Is that a viable approach to allow that book owner to be part of the thing and take them on this journey?
100%. I think, like, I just worked on a couple of years ago, I was on the show, limited series called Love and Death, HBO show. And it was really interesting because there was this controversy because, like, this movie or TV show called Candy came out, and it's the exact same storyline of the show that we were shooting. So we were shooting Love and Death, and then we found out about Candy, but the whole thing follows this true crime story that happened in like McKinney, Texas, of this woman who killed her best friend. And big giant story. And there's a whole book written about it. And our production bought the rights to the book. And our entire series was written almost verbatim, line for line, situation for situation out of that book. the Candy production did not buy the rights to the book because they couldn't own it, but because it was public knowledge, they went and made the exact same story.
Mm-hmm.
But I think for whatever reason, they had like less budget, and I think they were a little bit worried. So they were originally supposed to be 9 episodes. They ended up being 5 episodes. They came out first, and everybody's like, why would they release this other film? Like, we started shooting first. We finished after them. They released their show, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But all the while, like, the thing that I loved about the production was we brought all of the real people that were involved along for the ride as the source material in real life. Like, it wasn't just cut them a check, send them away, let's go make a movie and like exploit their lives. It was like, how can we get their direct feedback on making this as honest as possible and as real as possible? And that was a formative experience for me, because you do get to see like the corporate, like big corporations at work, but I got the luxury of being on the HBO side of things, where they were paying homage to the people that went through it, that wrote the books, that did, that lived the life experiences, to be able to bring them onto the production and actually kind of like, as a thank you, like, you're going to be a consultant. We're going to pay you to be there. You're going to have a voice in this whole thing. And so, I'm right there with you. Like, I would much rather bring the author along, like Hal. I mean, like Dr. Hal Bradley, like, there's no version of this where we can make that movie without his knowledge, or make, any of this, whatever it ends up being, hopefully a franchise. Like, his direct experience will inform every decision we make. And so, I think that's the right way to go about it.
Yeah, it's one thing to be a technical director of some kind or another, who's like a specialist in, how do SEALs wear their clothes and everything. But the person who went through the actual story, it is powerful, because you can't know what that person knows in terms of being in a combat situation, or being abducted in a jungle, like how, there's very real things and emotions that he felt that he can convey to whoever's going to play out. My buddy Johnny Walker has a best-selling book, and he was an interpreter in Iraq, and I'm in his book because he was my interpreter for a little while. And I would love to one of my dreams is to interview the guy who's going to play me in the movie. So I'm interviewing me, or maybe even flip it around and have that guy whatever. But there are some of these fun things that come along that movies create. We can do such a better job on doing the behind the scenes stuff is fine, right? But we can do so much better job now. It can be more intimate. It can be more immediate. You can talk to everybody. And it is a neat time for creating, because you're right. And everybody, look, I put the link up right here. It's right down below my face. You can go there and you get that course that AJ was talking about. And you really can go shoot something. And people, if you're not bound by rules and permits and all this stuff, and I'm not saying break the law, but I am saying, go be a guerrilla and go shoot this thing, and then just shoot it and edit it and put it together and show it to your friends. And maybe it sucks, then you go do another one or whatever it is.
Amen.
But just be bold. The guy that wrote the first, God dang it, I wish my brain would work and let me remember things that I know.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. He made all of the movies that where death is a character, and it's death and comes starts killing all the cast members. And I cannot think of what that thing is, but like the train comes, the shower, it kills a person anyhow.
The Final Destination movies.
Final Destination, right. And I know his name, but I can't think of it right now. But he's like, I sent it in. Now this is decades ago. He sent it in blind into this production studio that does those kind of movies, and they're like, we don't accept these things, and he just was not going to be refused until they took him on. And then all of a sudden he had made this thing. So it is an impossible thing, but it's absolutely impossible if you don't do anything, right? You have to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's so easy to sit back and blame the industry, or like the functions of how the industry works for not moving. Yeah. But there is a version of something that you could make right now that doesn't if you make something right now, Pete, that makes it easier for you to actually get that prize fighting movie made. It's not pushing the prize fighting. It's not like you're putting a project in that pushes that one down the line. It's actually pulling that one closer.
Yeah.
And so I know a lot of filmmakers are out there with their big ideas, their big kind of Harry Potter, Star Wars, like I'm going to create this whole universe thing. But it's like J.K. Rowling, J.R.R. Tolkien, like they invented these worlds and they built these fan bases for years before their movies were made.
Yes.
Like they built so much proof and so much audience. So either go build that audience on some other medium and then take it to film, or make a film that naturally leads to that film being the next one.
Yeah.
You know, where people can see the natural transition. I think, yeah, I'm going to do it too. What's his name?
Good.
I'm doing this over and over again. He did Fruitvale Station, and then he did Black Panther. Ryan Coogler.
Right.
Like he's the perfect example. He made like a $700,000 movie, and I know most people are balking at that, and I am too. Like, you know, I think your first movie should be somewhere like under $100 grand. My company is called $1 grand film because my first film cost me literally $1,000 to make.
Yeah.
And but just proving that voice, like, and now Ryan Coogler's going out and doing, you know, Sinners and like he did Creed, and you know, and you get to see what your endless possibilities look like through this teeny tiny little like personal story movie. And I think we were having a conversation on one of my calls, my mastermind calls inside my program the other night. We were having this discussion because there seems to be some magic behind these little kind of slice of life personal movies that launch these huge filmmakers' careers. Like even you look at Chloe Zhao, like if you looked at her first two films, would your natural expectation be that she would go do a big Marvel movie called The Eternals for $200 million? The movie she did before that was Nomadland, like Frances McDormand going around the country in a Winnebago, like with improvised mumblecore dialogue. But it got her on the map, and people went, "Oh, let's see what she can do." Like, and Sean Baker has clearly been offered these things. There's no reason he'd be talking about like, "You'll never see me with a bullhorn making a Marvel movie," because like that's how these directors are found, is by making these tiny little personal movies. And I think that's because the people that control these decisions are fans of film. They're deep, deep fans of film, and these tiny little art films are the ones that they're watching when they're not, you know, in their big giant boardrooms with Marvel, you know, memorabilia plastered all over the place.
Yeah.
But they're just enjoying movies. They just want to go find these tiny little personal movies, and that's how they find these filmmakers.
Yeah, and Nomadland, like you could probably make that movie for half of whatever the budget was, and it's great to have Frances in there as a lead. But a lot of those actors are like, I'm desperate to make something cool like this, and so you have to learn how to ask, but you ask, and then you get your brother's RV and you go out to whatever, you know, Slab City, and you know you start making
you just shoot it. You just shoot it.
Yeah,
like half of the people in that movie are just real people.
Just real people. Yeah, who were thrilled. I'm in a movie.
Sean Baker has done the same thing. Ramin Barani's done the same thing. You know, just shoot, like find really interesting people and capture them as they are and make a movie around them. It doesn't even have to be like, you know, it doesn't have to be an Oscar-winning film. It just has to be interesting enough to hold somebody's attention for 90 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah. I say this to a friend of mine, like, he's like, do you think you'll win an Oscar? And I'm like, we got to make a movie before we could ever even think about an Oscar. No, I don't even know if we would submit if we got the damn thing made.
100%.
Yeah, we got to make something. That's all that matters.
Yeah, the first conversation I have with anybody that's thinking about coming to make a movie for the first time is like, where will it get distributed?
Right.
I don't know. You have to go make a good movie first.
Yeah.
Like distribution, I think people think that, you know, your first movie has to be some global box office phenomenon, but it's like Christopher Nolan is, you know, he's doing box office phenomenons, but his first film was $6,000 that he shot on the weekends with his friends. And that $6,000 paid for the film stock. That's it. He made a free movie with his friends and now gets to make box office phenomenons. Yeah. So I tell people, like, your distribution needs to impress one person. And that one person needs to help you get your next film made. You don't have to get on Netflix to be successful. And I think it's this hands-off approach. Like, I made the film, now like throw it out in the world and close my eyes and go, la, 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 la. Is it successful yet? And it's like, no, you have to go out and shepherd that film, because you are, at the end of the day, the artist that people are going to show up and ask to work, or like, what are you doing next?
Yes.
And so if you're not there with your film doing the thing, if you're submitting to festivals just to slap laurels on, like internet monthly film festivals, and saying like, I've won 38 film festivals.
Yeah.
Cool. How many of them were like tier 1 or 2?
Yeah. Yeah.
None of them. Then no one's going to care. Were you there? Did you meet anybody? Did you look somebody in the eye? Did you hear, I loved your film? Did you shake somebody's hand?
Yeah.
Then you didn't get anything out of it. I don't care how many laurels you have.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. All of that. A lot of people look down on that, and it is expensive. Okay, great. But if you're getting looked at and you're getting laurels, you should be having people go, hey, listen, that was good. Talk to me.
What are you
You should
doing
be getting
next?
conversations. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
Another thing I wanted to get into, and I don't want to take too much more of your time, but because of, again, I've got these ridiculous connections, so I have a lot of advantages, and I'm trying to leverage those things to make things. But my hometown, where we want to try to make this movie, where this fight takes place back in the 1800s, they're like, hey, would you start a production studio here in town? Now, I'm like, I don't even know what you mean by production studio, because I know what I think of when I think of a production
I don't
studio.
think they know either.
No, that's what I'm saying.
They want infrastructure to bring money in making movies, which is
Right.
great, because then you get to fill in the gaps.
Yeah. And I'm like, to make this thing work, you guys got to understand what you're asking me to do, because sure, I'd love to start a movie studio, but in addition, I actually have to make a movie, but it's great. But the thing that they want to do, the thing that California wants to do, the thing that Atlanta already did, the thing that Vancouver is, they have these film commissions. Everybody listen, like, there's film commissions, and they can be at a county level, they can be at a city level, and they are desperate to give you their money to make your film. You have to close the gap between their desperation and your film, but they will do tax things. New Orleans, you want to make a film in New Orleans, you just have to talk to that film commission and say, how do I do this well? And they will, in a lot of ways, help you get this done. Now, this is me just giving you it's a lot of work, and they're going to want things from you, but there is a lot of help out there too. You don't just have to go down this one path, and maybe they can only help you with development money, but there are people that recognize that film brings a lot of work. They hire local artists, they like all that stuff, but that's a whole different sub industry that you have to master to be able to produce things, at least if you're going to use that kind of money.
Yeah. Like we shot 2 features in Louisiana earlier this year, and one of the big reasons we were able to do that is because if you shoot outside of New Orleans and you've got a Louisiana local writer, you can qualify for 40% tax credits. So you're getting 40% of your money back before your film's even finished. In under a year. So that's incentive for investors to come on and know that at least some of their investment is being mitigated. It's not 100% loss if the movie doesn't get finished. Like the state of Louisiana will pay, 40% of your budget, or you can use that as additional money for post-production or whatever. Like you get to choose how you want to use that money and present it to your investors. But yeah, choosing where you want to shoot and then playing the soft money game of, how can you mitigate risk for your investors is a huge part of being able to make a project, like get it off the ground.
And having a town behind you or whatever, this is all part of this team building thing that I like to do, is being able just to get all this stuff together. And I'm going to look up this guy's name, but yeah, he is one of the big guys in Louisiana where he's like, oh, here's how I help you. Oh, Jason Wagensback, he's a filmmaker, and of course he's on Team Louisiana. And so if you want to make a movie, you go on, just like I just did, you go on LinkedIn and you're like, hey, I'd love to talk to you. You know what he's going to say? Okay.
Yep.
He's going to talk to you because he's desperate to get films made there. It doesn't mean you get to make your film, but you already have someone who's there actively looking for, and I'll just say this too. There was this guy, he was in the 90s and the 80s a little bit too. He used to do these infomercials. His name's Matthew Lesko. Ask Lesko. And he's like, the government wants to give you money. And so he's right. And that guy still exists. And he's like bugging me out. He's like, Pete, have you applied for these grants? And I'm like, no, I haven't. Why am I not doing it? And so I just have to sit down and apply for it, right? But all of these things take time. But Matthew Lesko will help you find money. He's like, we try to make a movie? Okay, great. Here's a resource. You can do it. And he gets you all fired up, and then you can apply for it. And there's so many different avenues to get these things made. Doesn't make it easy, but there's a lot of help out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that's where like just writing or pursuing projects with realistic budget expectations can help a lot. It's very, very common that I run into people that are trying to get 40, $80 million productions made and they've never made anything before.
Right.
And I'll be the first one to tell you, like my first film was $1,000. My second film was $56,000. And then the most recent two films I just did were about $250,000 a piece.
Yeah.
The level of increase in crew and expectations and stress and anxiety, all of those things are like they happen in parallel. So assume you're this person who wrote a script and then like somebody goes, yes, here's $80 million.
Right.
You would have no clue what to do with that money. So like start small, start achievable, like you have to know how to assemble a crew. You have to know how many crew members you need. You have to understand like how to break a script down and understand how many pages per day you're going to shoot, scheduling around the weather and the sunshine and crew, like company moves, parking, housing. Like there's so many little logistical things that people don't consider when they're like thinking about this, fantasy, whatever sci-fi film, like with aliens. It's like, go make something small.
Yeah.
Do the entire process from front to back to learn how to do it once. And then I think all of your expectations or your understanding of the process will like hone in on, all right, cool. What's like the smallest, most achievable thing I can do? Because most filmmakers are just biting off way more than they can chew.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good rule in life in general. You don't have to get a black belt today. Just can you go to class? Can you go to class and get a little better? Okay. Can you get better at going to class? Because now you're already going to class. I talk about podcasting. Here's my idea. I don't give a fuck about your idea.
Same.
I care if you can show up. Can you do the work? Can you produce it? I'll learn about your idea when you've earned the right for me to care about that. Right?
This is proof.
Harsh.
Coming in with proof. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. You can't say, I want to go swim 200 meters of butterfly without getting in the fucking pool a lot.
I say the same thing. Like making an $80 million movie with never making anything before is like, okay, I walked into a weight room once, like let's compete in the Olympics.
Yeah.
In my case, I'm lucky. There's literally no way that it would work. And you just have to be realistic about it.
I have the good fortune because of my ridiculous show that I know a lot of other filmmakers who are like, Pete, get this idea proved up, get it past this point, and then we'll work on the next point. And so a lot of that bona fides is held by them, but still I'm having to do all this work to get up to this level. Like, what do you need next? What do you need next? Go work on this. Hey, maybe we'll hire a casting director. Can you go find the money? I have someone in mind, and so these are different problems, but there's still problems I have to solve. How do I? All right, now I got to find someone who will give me whatever it costs, $2,500, whatever it is, to go hire a casting director. Now I got to figure out how to legally get that person's money, hold it, use it, pay them, and that's all. If you haven't done any of this stuff before, you're right. Like, it's like, how do I do this? And what kind of miser are you? Like, oh, everybody's going to work. We're only going to get one meal. Like, no, you have to be the guy that people want to work for. And
exactly. Yeah.
So many things. Yeah.
And I think people are ultimately comfortable. It's almost like a version of self-sabotage where it's like, if I make this so unachievable, I can always blame it on the fact that it was a big idea and it was never going to get made. But like, if you want to actually make something before you die, if you want to see if you're good at it, if you want to get better at it, like just go make what you can make right now. There's literally no excuse. Everybody watching this is watching on a cell phone. Go shoot a movie on your cell phone. Like shoot a movie, edit it together, piece it together, try and, craft a story and see what it's like. And then you'll have so much more of an understanding of what it takes to do something big that project becomes the, 10, 15 years from now project. What can I do right now to make that one more likely in the future instead of just never making anything?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you think about, I won't take anybody's time, but you think about Ken Burns. He went out and took a bunch of pictures, moved the camera around, and then got Peter Coyote or Tom Hanks, who are eminently believable when they talk, and then he wrote a script. I'm not saying that that's easy, but that is the bulk of what he did. And
He
now
created
he's
something that didn't exist that proved his
yeah.
voice, and now he's freaking Ken Burns.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. Well, listen, anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to promote? I put a couple links up here. Everybody, look, you hear the knowledge. The course is right down below. And investing a little bit of money in your dream is helping you get access to all the stuff that AJ knows. And if AJ's not your cup of tea, go find someone else. But you have to make things. You have to spend some money. You have to do the work. And that's true for, gosh,
Absolutely. Yeah.
any
Yeah.
discipline.
Yeah.
Anything else? Here's the
Yeah.
school.
Yeah. If you're looking for a place to grow as a filmmaker, there's a wonderful platform called School with a K. And I host a community, 2 communities on there, but one big community for filmmakers to just come in, learn how to make a feature film, collaborate with other people. There's courses in there that teach you exactly how to go through the process step by step. There's Q&A calls with me on Fridays. I've got one coming up tonight, so you get direct access to me. I get to help you get unstuck from wherever you are. It literally walks you through from the ideation of the concept through the writing process, casting, crewing, all your legal requirements for distribution, festivals, marketing, all of it. And you don't have to do it alone. I know a lot of people, especially that aren't living in big, film hubs, probably feel like they can't do it because they've never seen it happen around them. And this community is specifically for you to break that, so you can see that this is possible. So the link is there on the screen. There's a 7-day free trial. There's a course called the Investorless Feature Film that's in the classroom tab at the top of the page as soon as you come in, and I'd love to meet you and help you make your first movie.
All right, you guys, here you go. That's how you do it. This is great. Thank you very much for coming on, AJ. Everybody else,
Pete.
Yeah, no worries. I'll talk to you all later, and I'll say goodbye to you, AJ, in a second here. Bye-bye, everybody.
Beautiful.